So tonight we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text 30. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Alright. Please repeat after me. Atta Bhagavata Yuyam Yara Sta Bhagavan Yata Na Mad Bhagavatanam Cha Prayan Anyo Sti Karchit.
What's the words?
4, Canto 4, chapter 24, text 30.
24:30.
Yeah, 4:24:30. So we'll wait till we're all on the same page. Digitally.
Three zero.
4:24:30.
Keep going now. Keep. Oh God.
Page 337.
You can control F.
You pick the verse and then go here.
Oh, is he using the keyboard?
37, 36, 35,
We're almost there.
34,
Haribo.
33,
Haribo.
33,
What
31.
if you sing the
One.
song from Shiva backwards?
Okay. We're there.
Okay. Right. Atta Bhagavata Yuyam. Priyasta Bhagavanyata. Namad Bhagavatanam Cha. Priyan Anyasti Karchit. Atta Bhagavata Yuyam. Priyasta Bhagavanyata. Namad Bhagavatanam Cha. Priyan Anyasti Karchit. Atta Bhagavata Yuyam. Priyasta Bhagavanyata. Namad Bhagavatanam Cha.
Bhagavatanam cha.
Priyan Anyasti Karhachit.
Atha Bhagavata Yuyam. Priyastha Bhagavan Yatha. Namad Bhagavatanam cha. Preyan Anyosti Karichit.
Atha Bhagavata Yuyam. Yastha Bhagavan Yatha. Namad Bhagavatam cha. Preyam Anyosti Karpichit.
Atha Bhagavatam Yunyam Priyastad Bhagavan Yatha Namad Bhagavatanam cha Priyat Anyastri Katsiti
Atha Bhagavatayuyam. Priyasta Bhagavan Yatha. Namad Bhagavatanam cha. Preyan Anyostikar Vichit.
Anyone else? All right. Atha. Therefore. Bhagavataha. Devotees. Yum. All of you. Priyaha. Very dear to me. Sta. You are. Bhagavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yatha. As. Na. Neither. Mat. Than me. Bhagavatanam. Of the devotees. Cha. Also. Prayan. Very dear. Anyaha. Others. Asti. There is. Karhichit. At any time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me, and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Purport. It is said, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. Lord Shiva is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva. In Vrindavan, there is Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishvar. The gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva, but Katyayani, or Durga, as well. But their aim was to attain the favor of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna, and he does not request material profit. In Bhagavad Gita 7:20, it is said that generally people worship demigods for some material profit. Driven by material lust, they worship demigods, but a devotee never does so, for he is never driven by material lust. That is the difference between a devotee's respect for Lord Shiva and an asura's respect for him. The asura worships Lord Shiva, takes some benediction from him, misuses the benediction, and ultimately is killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards him liberation. Because Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva told the Prachetas that because they were devotees of the Lord, he loved them very much. Lord Shiva was not kind and merciful only to the Prachetas. Anyone who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very dear to Lord Shiva. Not only are the devotees dear to Lord Shiva, but he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, devotees of the Supreme Lord also worship Lord Shiva as the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. They do not worship him as a separate personality of Godhead. It is stated in the list of Namaparats that it is an offense to think that the chanting of the name of Hari and the chanting of Hara or Shiva are the same. The devotees must always know that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that Lord Shiva is his devotee. A devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes even more respect. Indeed, Lord Ram, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worshiped Lord Shiva. If a devotee is worshipped by the Lord, why should a devotee not be worshipped by other devotees on the same level with the Lord? This is the conclusion. From this verse, it appears that Lord Shiva blesses the asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karivacharam Bhangam Navgaite Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dirtharinam Vajrakapirvishta Kripasundibhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasana Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the translation again. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me, and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Lord Shiva, as the best of all devotees, he's teaching us in this particular verse how we should see other Vaishnavas, how we should see other devotees, how we should appreciate them. And he's saying that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He's saying this to the Prachetas. So, as Srila Prabhupada would say sometimes, that we were mentioning this morning, that one doesn't have to take a certificate to know that they're advancing in spiritual life. Just like this morning we were mentioning, if you're fasting, it's a fast day. Let's say Janmashtami, you're fasting all day, and then you break your fast in the evening. You're very hungry at that time, right? And you sit down and you have a nice Janmashtami feast. Some devotees just have fruit, some have more than fruit. But whatever the case is, you break your fast. And Srila Prabhupada would say that you do not have to take a certificate that, yes, now I am full, but you have that experience that you're full, that you're nourished. So similarly, there are, you could say, signs that one is making advancement, or that one is making progress in spiritual life. And the sign that one is making progress is that one's able to appreciate other devotees. And the sign that one is making a lot of progress is that one is able to appreciate them on the same level as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in some cases even more. And so this is what Lord Shiva is teaching us in this particular verse. And Krishna also teaches us this, how to offer proper respects to devotees. Can anybody think of any examples in Krishna book of Krishna offering respect? Sudama, right? Okay, we've heard a few. Any other examples? in the Krishna book, where Krishna's offering.
Is washing the feet of the people.
Yes, that's true. Is everybody familiar with that?
Rajaswaya Yajna.
Yeah, want to speak louder?
Yeah, in the Yagna, Rajasvi Yagna, he was
Oh,
washing the
yeah.
feet.
That's Mahabharata.
And Krishna is always taking the dust from the lotus feet of gopis and Radharani.
Yes. Yeah, in the Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna took a very humble position. Everybody was coming, and he was washing their feet before they went into the sacrificial arena. That's very humble. Also, what was that?
And also before Mahabharata war starts,
Mhm.
that night he tell Arjuna to pray for Lord Shiva's blessings and Durga's blessings because the war is about to start. But in general, Shiva is responsible for the destruction. Krishna doesn't do destruction. So he asked him to take blessing from him tomorrow. The war is going to be destructed.
Nice, thank you. So you have the Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna's washing, you have Sudama Brahman, when he comes, Krishna, he offers them garland, offers, please sit, and nice words, and fruit, and then he washes his feet, the feet of his devotee. And as Prabhu Prabhu was mentioning, you have the instance in where Krishna had a headache. Prabhupada liked this one. Devotees actually put on a play in Juhu. Prabhupada was there watching this play. But Krishna had a headache, and he was, he said, the only way I could be cured is I need the dust from the feet of my devotees. So Narada Muni, right? Yeah, Narada Muni, he went around and he was going to so many different devotees, and everybody was saying no. Because if I give the dust of my feet to Krishna, then I'll have to suffer. I'll have to go to hell. So everybody was saying no. And then Narada Muni made his way to Vrindavan, and he went to the gopis, the cowherd girls, and explained the situation and said that he needed some dust to cure Krishna's headache. And immediately the gopis said, yes, please take it all. Immediately. There was no second thought. And then Krishna's headache was cured. So this is, you could say, displaying, the gopis' level of devotion. So Krishna, so Lord Shiva teaches us, Krishna teaches us that we should appreciate the devotees. And out of all of the offenses one can make, the offenses that the Vaishnava aparad is the worst out of all the offenses. Like it's said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that this offense of Vaishnava aparad is said to be like a mad elephant. And a mad elephant can very easily damage or destroy the creeper of devotion growing in one's heart. So therefore, as the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, we have to build a fence around that creeper of devotion. And that fence is the pure devotees. It's an interesting point because why would they be considered the fence? What do you think? Why would they be the protectors of the creepers of devotion, the pure devotees? Yes. Yeah. Why is it, or how is it, that pure devotees are the ones that are protectors of our creeper, acting as a fence in the analogy? Just like gardeners, they know they have to fence off delicate plants. Yes.
So I'm not sure of what you're looking for, but one thing that occurs to me is that when one is surrounded by pure devotees, then one is in higher association, and so then one naturally feels humble. Whereas generally Vaishnava aparad starts from pride. So
All right, that's good. Pretty good, that's good. That when one's in higher association, they feel humble. They should feel humble.
and one also has the Vaishnava etiquette that the pure devotees have, so then one imbibes that.
Yeah, so one feels humble, so they cannot become proud and then commit Vaishnava aparadha. Okay, that's good. Any other?
I would follow along the same line. The reflection is of a very higher level of consciousness, so you're not, sort of defaulting to your original offensive consciousness.
Yes, yeah, that's the point. That in good association, it's hard to be bad. In good association, it becomes very difficult to get into this mindset of fault finding, criticizing, unnecessarily committing aparadhas. It's difficult because the pure devotees are not. That's not their business. Yeah. So. So yeah, that's an important point to keep in mind. So in the purport, sorry, but do you think you could just turn that? Sorry, it's not that I don't want to hear Prabhupada, it just
It's in that,
my mind kind
music
of
box. That music
will
box.
go to the music. It's like
It's from the volume.
that's. Yeah, thank you. So generally, as Srila Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavad Gita, and he's saying how those who are less intelligent, they worship the demigods for temporary benefit, material benefit. And we see that a lot of the times people worship Shiva in this mood. They want something. One of Shiva's names is Ashutosh, right? Everyone remember what that one means? Easily pleased, satisfied. Easily satisfied, Ashutosh. So many, you could say demons or asuras, they worship Lord Shiva for this to get some benefit. Can anybody think of some demons who worship Lord Shiva? Ravana, okay. Any other ones? Rikasura. What was that?
Bhasmasura.
Yeah.
Banasur.
Yeah, so there's a number of them who worship Lord Shiva for these purposes. Srila Prabhupada's mentioning here in the purport that driven by material lust, they worship demigods, but a devotee never does so. And that is the difference between a devotee's respect for Lord Shiva and an asura's respect. The asura worships Lord Shiva, takes some benediction from him, misuses the benediction, and is ultimately killed. Like you have the Vrikasura, he was performing very unusual austerities. You remember those austerities, what he was doing?
Cutting his flesh.
Yeah, that's a very unusual austerity. He was cutting piece of his, and he was throwing it in the fire, and he was trying to get Shiva's attention, benediction from Lord Shiva. And then Lord Shiva wasn't responding. So what did the demon do next?
Cut off his head.
Yeah, he started to do that. Cut off his own head. So Lord Shiva appeared, and then he said, okay, what do you want? And the demon said, I want that whoever head I touch, it just immediately bursts, explodes. So Lord Shiva gave him the benediction, and then the demon immediately he went to Lord Shiva, and he said, okay, I'm going to test it on Lord Shiva. And Srila Prabhupada comments in the Krishna book that the demon was thinking of killing Lord Shiva and going for Parvati, enjoying Parvati. So what happened then? Does anyone remember?
Shiva is running.
Yeah, Shiva was running away,
Krishna comes disguised.
and Krishna comes disguised, right, as a
Small boy.
small,
Kamachari.
cute boy. Irresistibly cute boy. And then he starts to preach to this demon and says, he gives somebody benedict, and this isn't going to work, and don't worry about it. And actually what you should do is you should just try it on yourself. Just touch your own head. So Krishna has the supreme convincing abilities. So the demon just touched his head, and then he was killed, exploded. And Krishna told Lord Shiva that you have to be careful who you give benedictions to. They worship Krishna for so many different reasons. And sometimes the devotees of Lord Shiva are seen to be very opulent. Although Lord Shiva is living outside under a tree, very austere conditions, most wives will not accept such things, right? You're married? Yeah. If you told your wife, now we're going to live under a tree, you think she would accept?
She will abandon me next day.
Oh, really? Okay. Anyways, I don't want to start any fights between me and the wife. She might be very devoted and go with you, but generally it's... So Shiva is living under a tree, right? Parvati, but his devotees are seen to be very opulent. So that's why people like worshiping Lord Shiva. And sometimes people are scared to worship Krishna. Because they think, if I worship Krishna, what will he do? Hari, he'll take away, right? He'll take things away. So sometimes people are... And there's a verse in the 10th canto mentioning that if Krishna really favors someone, then he'll take things away. So sometimes people wonder that, okay, if I become a devotee of Krishna, then I may have to suffer. But the thing is that the opulence that one gets by worshiping Lord Shiva and being driven by material lust and material consciousness, that is actually suffering. That's not a real source of enjoyment. As we were mentioning last night, what we're all after pleasure or rasa, as the Bhakti Rasa Rita Sindhu is saying, that emotion of reciprocation and pleasure we get from taking shelter of things. And there's so many things to take shelter of. But when Krishna takes away, or sometimes Krishna may impose suffering on a devotee. Say, why did devotees suffer? Say, well, it's Krishna's arrangement. And the idea is that suffering will actually bring one to, because it's under the direction of Krishna, and if one deals with that suffering in the right way, then that suffering will bring one to the highest happiness. And the examples given, just like it's very hot. If it gets very hot in terms of weather. Now, experiencing that heat, when one bathes in the ocean or one goes swimming in the cold ocean, there's a relief there. There's pleasure there. Or if one is hungry, right? One is very hungry and then been fasting for many days, and then they eat. There's a particular pleasure there. So in other words, suffering, experiencing one side of the coin and then experiencing the other side, you're able to, you'd say, better appreciate that happiness. So whatever suffering that the devotees undergo, it's actually Krishna trying to get their attention, trying to bring them to the point of fully surrendering or taking shelter of them. And this is not out of there's no cruel intentions there. It's out of love. He's trying to get the attention. He wants to reestablish or reawaken that relationship. A mundane example, Prabhupada would give mundane examples, or he would say crude example. Devotees sometimes give is that, like in school, if a boy has a crush on a girl, it means attraction. Crush means attraction. Not sure where that term came from, but Maybe because over time their heart becomes crushed. Like brahmachari talk, right? But no, there's grihastha ashram is good. But a boy is attracted to a girl, and in the old times, they used to use those ink pots, and then they would dip, and then they would write like that. So the boy tries to get the girl's attention in so many ways. He sends notes to her in class. He tries to speak with her in some ways. But one point he takes her braid without her knowing. He takes her braid and then he puts it in the ink pot. And then when she gets up and she's going around, then the ink's all over her dress. And then she doesn't know. And then people tell her, oh, you have ink all over your dress. And then she realized, oh, it's him. And he's trying to get my attention. So the idea is that, okay, the boy's trying to get the girl's attention in so many different ways. So similarly, Krishna, he's trying to get our attention in so many ways. He comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to get our attention. He sends Srila Prabhupada to get our attention. He sends somebody to give us a book, Srila Prabhupada's book, to get our attention. He's in so many different ways trying to get our attention. Sometimes there's suffering there to get our attention. And again, he just wants to reestablish that relationship with us. So it's out of love. And as mentioned here, Shiva is a great devotee of Krishna, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. So that's good news. If we're devotees, Lord Shiva loves us. We have the blessings of Lord Shiva. And specifically, devotees, they worship Gopeshwar Mahadev, who is the protector of the Dham or of Vrindavan. So Lord Shiva protects it. What does he protect it from? He protects it from, it's a similar task that his wife Durga Devi has, and that they protect people who are unqualified from coming into Krishna's presence. And sometimes it is said that there's like a film or a covering of the Dham. Means we cannot see it without the proper adhikar or qualification. And we should always remember that wherever Krishna is, Krishna comes in different ways. How does he come? Holy name? Bhagavatam, the Didi, Archa, Vigraha, Prasadam. He comes in so many different ways. So wherever Krishna is, that's a Dham. That's a holy place. So Krishna's here, dancing on the altar. And therefore this is a Dham. This is a holy place. Also, an important thing that makes a holy place is devotees make holy places holy. So there could also be a covering of this Dham. So you have to develop that adhikar, the qualification, to be able to see what's going on here, or experience Krishna consciousness. Just like in Brihad Bhagavatam Rita, Srila Prabhupada mentions this book by Sanatana Goswami, Gopakumar's journey, right, through the different places, eventually reaching Goloka Vrindavan. But it's mentioning one of the in that book. It's mentioning how when Krishna went to Dwarka, right, Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, he was there living with the queens, and at night, he was saying the different names of the devotees of Vrindavan, feeling separation from Vrindavan. That's the principle of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. They're feeling separation from Vrindavan. So what happened is they created what was called a Nava Braja, or New Vrindavan. Means it was a replica of the original Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada had this in his mind. Like he instructed the devotees of New Vrindavan, you create how many temples?
7.
Yeah, 7 temples. Devotees have done that in Govardhan Eco Village, New Vrajadam in Hungary. So the idea is to replicate the Dham. So this is a holy place. So Lord Shiva, he protects the holy places from unqualified people entering or having the full experience, getting too close to Krishna. So Gopishvar, so there's as Srila Prabhupada writes, there is a temple in Vrindavan called Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishvar, and every night the pujaris, it'd be nice to be a pujari there, right? The pujaris, they dress Lord Shiva as a gopi. So what's going on with that? Why would they do that? And then there's a history behind that. That's mentioned in the Garga Samhita. How Lord Shiva, he had a desire. He wanted to see the Rasa Leela, Krishna dancing with the gopis in Vrindavan. So he spoke with Yogamaya, and she said that in order for you, first of all, no males could enter that arena besides Krishna. That's the first point. You have to be a gopi. And he said, well, how do I be a gopi? And he said, you have to go to Vrinda Devi. So those of you who want to be gopis, let's go to Vrinda Devi. So he went to Vrinda Devi, and she said, you bathe in a particular lake, and so he did that, and he came out, and he was in the form of a gopi. So he went to the Rasa Leela dance, he was able to enter, and he was dancing there. And then Krishna stopped the dance. Just like in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, Lord Chaitanya would stop the kirtans in the evening. Somebody was unqualified, was in there. So anyways, he stopped the dance. And then he said that I feel that there's some male here that shouldn't be here. And then he said, Lalita, can you go check? So she went and she checked. So she was going to each gopi, checking. And then eventually she found one gopi who had, because Lord Shiva has 3 eyes. Everybody knows that, right? So this gopi had 3 eyes, and it's not like these 2 eyes and there's one there, but it's actually this way, yeah. So they detected that Lord Shiva was there. So then Krishna, he came and he talked with Lord Shiva, and it was agreed that Lord Shiva can, from that point on, be the protector of the Rasa Leela dance, not to let anyone in. So, all right, so we'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Anything you'd like to say? Yes.
So on one side, we say that Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee. And devotees is the highest devotee. So they have qualifications, right? So he's also getting his short tempered, that we know he gets pleased very easily, but he gets angry also very easily. So how do we explain this short temperedness of Lord Shiva, considering that he's the greatest Vaishnava? Because Vaishnavas are supposed to be like equipoised in happiness and distress, and that what all the qualifications that Krishna speaks
It's a
in.
good question.
Yes.
I've never heard that question. Have you ever heard that question?
No, it just came to my mind.
Okay. All right. That's the nature of questions, right? It just kind of emerge from wherever, I guess. Intelligence, curiosity. Yeah. Well, yeah, Lord Shiva, it's true. He does have a short temper. He's easily pleased and also easily angered. There's some pastimes that demonstrate that, right? When Bhrigu Muni, he was wanting to know who was supreme. He went to Lord Brahma, yeah, and what was it?
He did not offer his.
Yeah, he ignored him, and then what happened?
He did a verbal abuse to Lord Shiva.
Yeah, verbal abuse
And
to Lord Shiva, and then Shiva wanted to actually kill him. So. And then he went to Lord Vishnu, and when he kicked Vishnu's chest, Vishnu was just, he tolerated it, and he said, "Oh, maybe I hurt your foot, I'm sorry." But Lakshmi, she was upset. She cursed the Brahmins at that point. Right, not to be very wealthy. One thing I'm thinking, I've never heard the question, and I've never heard it discussed or read it discussed anywhere. But he definitely needs some anger for the destruction of the universe, that's for sure.
That's
He
usually
needs-
called Rudra.
Yeah, Rudra, he needs a special form of anger to do that. Right, Tandava Nritya, dancing and destroying the universe. But also he's a great personality, and even though he doesn't fit, you could say in some ways, the maybe general stereotype of a devotee, he shouldn't be seen as like that as a disqualification. He has great qualifications. Just like Lord Shiva's appearance, it's very unusual. He's covered with ashes from the crematorium. Of course, devotees, okay, this is seen to be Vaishnava ashes, but still, for someone to, and he has, what other his?
Snake.
Snake, skulls, huh?
Associated with hobgoblins.
Yeah, and these skulls, okay, they're the skulls of Vaishnavas, but still, it's an unusual appearance. Most Vaishnavas, don't dress. So he has that side to him, and of course, he's dealing with all of these, say, lower people in really low modes of nature, the ghost and the, really. So in that way, he's merciful. So, that's something. Does anybody have any other realizations? Yes.
I heard in the class by a senior personality that although sort of he presides over the mode of ignorance, he's certainly very high up there, given that he's even beyond Jivatmas or Brahma. And, all these could be more of pastimes?
Yes.
rather than,
Yes.
versus his
Yeah.
representative of his original identity.
Yeah.
Like, Krishna's pastimes are not what Vishnu Tattva is.
Yeah, it could be for pastime's sake, right? So much is actually for pastime's sake, and or else what would we talk about, right? Srila Prabhupada said Krishna came so we could have something to talk about. Yes, okay, one here, and then after Yes.
Shiva is a highly misunderstood the tattva between Vishnu tattva and Jiva tattva, and then he kept like that for purpose. Those who understand Shiva tattva, in one sense, Shiva is not different than Vishnu in Sadashiva in spiritual world. He comes to the material world as a Rudra for purpose. Sometimes from the eyebrows of Brahma he comes. But he's in charge of mode of ignorance, but he's not in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah.
He's in charge, like a jailer. He's in charge of the jail, but he's not a criminal. So
Yeah.
that one thing people have to be very careful. He's a Parama Vaishnava. And then those who understand that a real tattva of Shiva and the worship as a devotee, also as a supreme personality of God for a different purpose. So that's why like Advaita Acharya is not different than Shiva. Hanuman is an expansion of Shiva. It's a great devotee. There's so many pastimes are there. But he kept even Bhrigumuni pastime. After he leaves, he knows why Bhrigumuni came. So he voluntarily, to outside the world, he acted like that. Internally, he wants to glorify Vishnu. So those who understand the tattva, the Shiva tattva, so they will not fall into the victim of treating him, misidentified him, or disrespectful.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Maybe we consume so much halal, that's why he gets frustration.
Well, I mean, he consumed, yeah, this picture here, it's him consuming the poison in the milk ocean. But, yeah, I mean, he's transcendental, so he's not frustrated on that basis. He's not frustrated at all.
He's happy to drink.
Yeah, he's happy. He's happy to drink the poison. In the 8th canto, this is described how he's the greatest of Vaishnava because he showed this great mercy for all living entities, actually.
Even in that pastime, he doesn't allow it to go underneath his
Yeah,
neckline,
he keeps
and
it.
that's why his neckline, his name is Nilkantha.
Yeah,
So he did not really consume it.
yeah,
He just took it away.
yeah. Yes.
So maybe it was just harsh words that he think was coming from the throat and not from the heart.
Yes, Puja, there is you mentioned like Vrindavan is Gopeshwar Mahadev,
Yeah.
Dhameswar Mahadev. There is 4 Shiva in Vrindavan. Five?
Yes.
I know. I don't know another 2 names like Sakleshwar, Gopeshwar, and
Nandishwar.
Dhameswar.
Kameshwar.
Dhameswar. So what is that design behind the pastime like Sakleshwar? Why is that Sakleshwar name like something behind?
Does anybody?
So Krishna's the version chakra rested there. That's why that area is called Shakleshwar.
And what about Kameshwar?
One who fulfills desires, spiritual desires.
He's in Kamyavan.
Kamyavan. He's protector of the Kamyavan. So, yeah.
So what another? You said 5. I know 4.
So, Kameshwar. I mean, when I was coming here, I was hearing lecture from Amrendra Prabhu. He said the 5th one I forgot. What is that?
Ashishwar.
Ashish, yes.
Ashishwar.
Ashishwar Mahadev, yes.
All right. So what are the 5?
Chakleshwar, Nandishwar,
Gopeshwar.
Gopeshwar, Kameshwar, and Ashishwar. Now I got that.
Okay. There you go.
And what about Asishwar? Why is that design behind name Asishwar?
He was sitting at one place where, he came disguised as a sadhu and like with all matted hair, and he wanted to see Krishna. And Yashoda, baby Krishna, and Yashoda would not let him see because
He looks
she was
different.
scared. And then he went to this place where, he meditated, and then Krishna was crying, and they could not stop him. They called the sadhu back.
Yeah. The 5th one is Nandishwar Mahadev, so Nandagram, he is the in charge of it. And he's also become the mountain, like Nandagram.
All right. Any last?
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the 7th canto, in Nrsimhadev pastime, Nrsimhadev tells Brahma that don't give such boons, because your boons create so much trouble. And at the end, he says, when Brahma is there. So why doesn't Krishna tell like that to Lord Shiva? Because his boons are also very, like,
I mean, if I remember properly, in that Rikasura pastime, he told him that at the end of the after that demon killed himself, he told him that, I believe. Does anyone remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember that? Okay. So yeah, he tells him.
but still he gives boons.
Well,
That's for pastime purposes, then we can say.
yeah.
They're obligated.
What was that?
They're obligated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a formality. I mean, you do specific austerities. And as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned here, that from this verse it appears that Lord Shiva blesses the asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves one who's devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, so.
Actually, Parvati asks Shiva, so you, as you mentioned, you look like a beggar, but people come for wealthy. Why don't you tell them? Why do you give them? So, and then they said that once they realize that he doesn't have anything, but he's giving me, but he has something.
Yeah.
So that's why when they come to me, they'll connect him to Krishna. That's one thing. Second thing, they already come to me, but they accepted that somebody is better than him. Because before we are God. Now I accept I'm not God, somebody is better than me. So they're coming to me for a second. That's an advancement.
Yeah.
They are coming to me, they're recognizing that somebody is better than the second. The third is that by giving him that, they frustrated very soon. They come back to me. So this is the
Nice.
But Arjuna also worshipped Lord Shiva to get the Pashupatas. He also has
Yeah. Yeah, there's worship of Lord Shiva, there's worship of Durga, and then it seems that a lot of people or you have Ramchandra worshiping Lord Shiva, so there's a lot of different things or exchanges going on between Lord Shiva. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, that devotees, the asuras, or driven by material lust, they worship for a particular reason, to fulfill their own selfish desires. Whereas devotees, they may worship Lord Shiva, or you have the gopis worshiping Katyayani, Durga, for advancement of Krishna consciousness. And there's so many prayers like that. There's prayers to Lord Shiva. Praying to Shiva that we could get closer to reawakening our love for Radha and Krishna. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, ki jai, Hare Krishna.
So devotees, please remain seated. Gurudeva Prabhu would lead Kirtan, and devotees just individually, one by one, we have a picture of Lord Shiva and we have flowers. You can do Achman, offer flowers to Lord Shiva and pay your respects to him. And we'll do Kirtan for about 15 minutes, and we'll offer Pushpa to Lord Shiva. And then after that, we'll have a wonderful feast for everybody.